Apollo 11. Walking on the Moon. On July 20, 1969, 500 million people around the globe were glued on their television screens. At the same time, millions listened to radio broadcasts. An event marking a milestone in human history was unfolding over the airwaves. For the first time ever, astronauts were walking on Earth's moon. In just 6 decades, humans had gone from flying a few feet above the ground to visiting the lunar surface. This incredible progress came about because of the imagination, determination, and courage of countless people chasing a dream. In 1903, Americans Orville and Wilbur Wright achieved the first sustained, controlled flight of a powerful aircraft. By 1918, airplanes were an important part of the World War I military operations across the globe. World War II led to the development of faster and larger planes that could reach speeds over 80 miles per hour and altitudes over 40,000 feet. Scientists and engineers became interested in expanding the boundaries of flight into outer space. During the late 1940s, the United States experimented with rocket planes that could fly at supersonic speeds. In 1958, President Dwight Eisenhower signed a congressional bill forming an independent agency dedicated to space flight. It was named the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. Milestones and setbacks. By 1961, the United States had not only launched space satellites, it had also sent humans into orbit around Earth. The Mercury space program showed that Americans could travel safely in space. That success inspired President John F. Kennedy. He publicly promised that within 9 years, the United States would be landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. NASA's researchers knew that to make good on the president's promise, many new technologies had to be developed and tested. They suddenly found themselves in a different type of race, a race against time. The Mercury missions showed that NASA could send one man into space and back safely. Now NASA was considering sending 2 or more men. What would happen to them if they spent many days in space? NASA's next missions, named Project Gemini, set out to answer those questions and more. Gemini's main goal was to send men to space in preparation for traveling to the moon. Gemini's spacecraft was larger than the Mercury capsule and much improved. The Mercury capsule could only change the direction in which it faced during orbit. The Gemini capsule could change the actual orbit it was in. In June 1965, during Gemini 4, astronaut Ed White performed NASA's first spacewalk, officially known as extravehicular activity, or EVA. In 1965, the Gemini 7 mission stayed in orbit for 2 weeks. 1 year later, Gemini 10 demonstrated how one spacecraft could die with another using a single engine to move both. With each success, NASA leadership grew more confident. They believed their astronauts were ready to embark on moon missions, which would be named Apollo. By 1967, NASA was ready to launch the first of its Apollo missions. Even with all the preparation, things were tragically wrong. During a launch test on January 27, 1967, a fire broke out inside the Apollo 1 capsule. Astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Caffey could not escape the fast-moving flames. All three were killed. The tragedy struck the country and temporarily halted all launches. NASA did a tough investigation. A pure oxygen environment and flammable material in the capsule helped the fire spread quickly. The capsule environment was changed from pure oxygen to the mixture of gases similar to Earth's atmosphere. Nylon, a highly combustible material that was used in seat covers and other parts, were replaced with a fireproof material called fiberglass. Most importantly, the hatch was redesigned with a manual release level both inside and out the capsule. The hatch could open outward in seconds. The special device and seal would prevent it from opening by mistake. Apollo resumes. Just 10 months after the disaster, a new and improved Apollo 4 command and service module was launched into Earth's orbit. This unpiloted mission went off without a hitch and restored NASA's confidence. The Apollo missions continued. In December 1968, the crew of Apollo 8 was sent on a journey around Earth's moon. 6 months later, the three-man Apollo 10 mission launched. It was the final rehearsal before the real lunar landing. The lunar module, separated from the CSM, was descended. It came within 47,000 feet of the moon's surface, with 2 crew members inside. There was one brief, scary moment when the LM began spinning wildly. The crew solved the problem quickly. The LM then ascended to the and docked with the orbiting CSM. The 2 crew members re-entered the CSM for the return trip to Earth. Apollo 10 had been a successful mission. NASA was ready to try an actual lunar landing. We have liftoff. It was now 1969 and time was running out. To fulfill President Kennedy's promise, the crew of Apollo 11 mission were trained and ready to make history. Neil Armstrong was the commander, Michelle Collins was the command and service module pilot, and Buzz Aldrin was the lunar module pilot. On July 16, 1969, at 9:32 a.m. local time, the crew boarded the CSM, named Columbia. With a mighty roar, the Saturn V rocket launched them on an 8-day journey of 953,054 miles. Within 3 minutes, the spacecraft was 37 miles above Earth, traveling at 6,340 miles per hour. At about noon, the third stage engine fired and pushed Apollo 11 out of Earth's orbit and toward the moon. As the spacecraft moved away from Earth, the crew began unpacking the lunar module named Eagle. From its compartment, first explosive bolts released Eagle from the compartment and blew away the compartment's walls. Columbia moved away 100 feet in front of her Eagle and turned around to dock with it head-to-head. At that point, the rest of the outer compartment blew away from the spacecraft. Columbia and Eagle continued their journey to the moon, docked together. The Eagle has landed. By day 3, Apollo 11 was 175,000 miles from Earth and 48 miles from the moon. Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin climbed through a tunnel connecting Columbia to Eagle to make sure everything was in working order. On day 4, Columbia slowed down so it could be pulled into lunar orbit. The next morning, Aldrin boarded Eagle and fired up its engines. An hour later, Armstrong boarded and the landing legs were deployed. They closed the hatch. The Eagle separated from Columbia. Collins piloted the CSM away from the LM and continued orbiting the moon. Armstrong fired the descent engine to guide Eagle toward its pre-programmed landing spot. Instead of heading toward the smooth surface of the Sea of Tranquility, however, their flight path was taking them toward a craters strewn with rocks. As alarms sounded, Armstrong took control of and steered Eagle toward a safer site. Tensions were high in Eagle and with mission control. The NASA officials back on Earth, when the LM finally touched down, it had only 30 seconds of fuel remaining. When Armstrong reported that the Eagle had landed, mission control burst into cheers. A step, a leap, a splash. Armstrong and Aldrin attached portable life support and communication systems they needed to perform their EVA. Armstrong opened the hatch at 10:39 p.m. and slowly made his way to the bottom step. As he did, Armstrong switched on a television camera attached to the ladder that would show the historic event to the world. Almost a full 20 minutes after he exited Eagle, Armstrong placed his left foot onto the gray dust of the lunar surface. As he did, he said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Another 20 minutes passed before Aldrin left the module and joined him. The astronauts planted an American flag and were congratulated by President Nixon. Armstrong then positioned the camera so it could record their activities. The astronauts conducted several experiments and collected lunar soil and rock samples. After 2 hours and 47 minutes, they returned to Eagle. On July 21, Eagle's ascent engine started, and it began climbing at a speed of 80 feet per second. 4 hours later, Eagle docked with Columbia. Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin climbed back into the command module, rejoining Mike Collins. On July 24, Columbia's surface module was jettisoned just before the command module returned Earth's atmosphere. Traveling faster than the speed of sound, the CM hurtled toward Earth. Friction electrified air surrounding the CM to produce fiery, glowing plasma. The plasma engulfs the CM, blocking all radio signals and causing a 4-minute communication blackout. Only the CM's protective heat shield kept the capsule from burning up. Parsonists were released to slow Columbia's descent toward the landing zone in the Pacific Ocean. It splashed down at 11:49 a.m. Central Daylight Time, about 800 miles southwest of Hawaii. The USS Hornet retrieved the astronauts from the spacecraft. Heroes of the heavens, a helicopter brought the Apollo 11 crew on the Hornet, where they were quarantined with the trailer, and Hornet sailed back to Hawaii. The trailer was put onto a plane in Houston, Texas, where the crew spent 21 days incarcerate. Afterward, huge parades were held in Houston, Chicago, the New York City. The epic mission completed. Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins were now heroes of the heavens, just as the gods Mercury and Apollo had been to human people long ago.